Hello and welcome to Inner Circle Conversations. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are based. We've had a few technical delays, but we are now live and I'm very excited about this conversation. And we're going to get straight into it. So we're not going to do any of the kind of the background, the history, what people wanted to be when they were little kids growing up. If you want to get all of that information, both of my guests today have done plenty of podcasts and definitely follow them on LinkedIn. You can find all of that. So I want to get straight into the conversations that matter. And I want to start with what are you both working on in 2026? What's the most exciting things that you're working on? And I'll just give you a minute to think about that because I've been thinking myself over what we're covering at. The three things that really seem to be a big focus this year is really leverage, being able to do more with less. So in our core business of mergers and acquisitions, we're seeing more deals than we've ever seen before. I think in terms of content and reaching people, it's never been easier to reach more people with less time. And clearly there's a lot of disruption going on. And for us entrepreneurs, that normally means more opportunities. So yeah, those are the three things that I'm seeing. So I'd love to hear what you're working on this year, what's exciting you about this year. Roger, Scotland, you want to start with yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I totally agree with you. I'm aligned with what you say. Basically, how to leverage what we have. I think for us, we act as community builders. We as networkers, and we have access to networks. So at some point, you sit on goals. So how do you leverage that? How do you create opportunities within these networks? So this is what I have in mind, and this is actually what we do and how we operate at the Visionary Companies, which is a company training board members, founders, and investors. And instead of keeping them separate, we bring them together. So they get trained together and they invest in each other, they advise each other. This is, again, leverage, focusing on maximizing the opportunity for us, our time, and also maximizing the opportunities for others, putting them in the same room, trusted, vetted, trained together.
Yeah, nice. And Alicia, I know you've been busily building a community over the last 12 months. So what's going on in your world?
Exactly. I'm basically combining both of what you're doing. So I'm looking into how can I scale my business, but also bring people together. So this is why I founded the Hype department, where I help people with how to show up on LinkedIn. And my plans for this year is just to make this community better and stronger and bigger and really focus on this. That allows me to scale it, but also still deliver the value and hopefully be able to bring people together in person at some point throughout the year, because in-person connections are just so important.
Yes, so that was a conversation we were just having while we were waiting for this to get started. I think the leverage that online gives you and with tools like LinkedIn, your ability to connect with thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people is fantastic. But that ability to, I think, is making it more and more important to have those face-to-face meetings when you can. Now, look, I know you're both big believer, well, all three of us are big believers in the power of profile. So I don't want us to sit here and pat each other on the back on that. I actually want to look at what are some of the downsides, because I know when I'm talking to people that haven't built their profile yet, they get very nervous about what are the negatives. And I noticed some of the questions that came in were specifically for you, Raha, were things like, what are some of the red flags if you see an entrepreneur that's built an amazing profile and you look at it as an investor? Do you ever see that they're spending too much time online building that profile? What are some of the red flags? What are some of the negatives of building a profile online?
Well, you can get a lot of info from how they present themselves, what kind of content, their tone of voice, what do they share, what is their intention. So I think it's important I think we get a lot of insights on the intention. So if a founder is just, I would say, building their brand without any intention, just shooting in all directions, sharing, I would say the experienced smart investor may wonder, what is the goal of this? Okay, why are they sharing all of this? Where are they going? Is it to attract what exactly? The attention? Is it the ego? They want to be on stage, or does it actually get them clients? Does it build credibility, authority? So these are the green to see as an investor. What is this content built for? What is the funnel, right? So if we see that actually they are active, but they are their marketing department, they are the force, the engine supporting growth, that's great. At the same time, you don't want a business that relies completely on the founder, okay? So it's a balance. However, it's understandable that in the beginning, the founder is the brand. They are there to build authority, credibility, trust. So it's also a way to build trust with, of course, your clients, but also investors. They get access to how you think, what are your insights, what's your expertise, how do you engage with clients? If you manage to put yourself out there, we can sense that you can put ourselves out there also in the real world and pick up the phone and call clients, and you have this finesse in terms of how to engage, how to communicate, how to build that community. And community building is extremely important and powerful, and unfortunately not enough founders are realizing this. As simple as this. Community gives you so much input, strength on what to build, how to build it, how to price it, what's next for you, and so.
Yeah, very good. All right, I'm going to come to you, Alicia, but I just want to give a heads up to people watching us live. I'm going to lots of people are watching live. I'm going to ask 5 questions to our panel in a second, but they're also questions to you. So even if you're watching the recording, whether you're watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn, get ready, because I'm going to be asking you some questions. I'd love to get your input on these things as well. So Alicia, I know your community, you've got entrepreneurs, but you've also got employees, and I know they're often concerned about, well, if I'm building my profile, what happens if HR finds out, and all of those kind of things. So how do you handle the potential negatives of building a profile with your community?
I actually don't think that there are any negatives. I think people, first of all, there are a lot of organizations that are very old school, very traditional. They don't really see the benefit in having a presence on LinkedIn. They're just anti-social media in general. So I think it's like the biggest hurdle to just make sure that the manager, the organizations in general understand the benefit of employee advocacy. So this means that, yeah, employees use their own voice to amplify the company. But then it's, what is in it for you as the employee? Like, why should you show up on LinkedIn? Because employees don't necessarily just want to show up to promote the company. They need to think, what is in it for them? How does it accelerate their own career? So in terms of if they want to just get a promotion internally, if they want a new job, if they want to start their own business, it's an investment in themselves, building a community and a profile whilst they're still in the position. And then I think it's just finding that overlap of what are you actually passionate about and expert in, what are your skills, and the job you're currently in. Because if you combine both, your manager can't be pissed off or annoyed, because you're literally talking about how you're flourishing in your role, what expertise you bring to the table, which indirectly promotes the company itself. So if you approach it in that angle, there couldn't be a way that the manager is frustrated. And also for you, it just builds your subject matter expertise and thought leadership for people to see, yeah, that is actually the right person for my company, and we want to hire you or to bring you to the next level, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I know it's easy for us to say this, but also if you do find yourself in an organization that is kind of stuck in the past and struggles with this stuff, there are so many companies out there now that understand the value of their employees having a profile, and it's so important that yeah, I think hopefully there are better opportunities out there. So look, I want to do a quick fire, 5 questions, quick fire, and I want to get our audience to also chime in on these, because I'd love to get your answers to this. So 5 quick fire, and we'll start with you, Roger. So 50,000 LinkedIn followers or 50,000 in actual revenue, what would be your preference?
Of course, revenue, but it's not that difficult to convert the 50,000 to not just 50,000, in revenue. That's the potential you have. So how do you maximize these 50,000 followers? Or it's direct revenue, it's sponsorship, it's partnerships, it's impact that you can create through your channel. But of course, revenue.
Alicia?
I would have actually said otherwise, because
No,
now that
I get it. I
might.
get it. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I'm not coming from your world. Sorry, Maya, go on. Sorry, I thought I was cutting you off. I go ahead. But basically, yeah, I think because I was just growing my own personal brand, and I could see over the last few months how many opportunities came my way. So thinking about it, if I were a founder who wanted to sell my business, like with the attention I currently have, I run a webinar, I get 4,000 signups. Like I get so many other opportunities through the attention I currently have. So I wonder when I look at my revenue, what is actually worth more? And I do think the attention and the momentum I'm having is worth more. But then also having said, this obviously comes from someone who has used to work at LinkedIn and is a LinkedIn content creator. I'm not from your world.
No, but what I said actually was like 50,000, but it gives you leverage, the 50,000 followers, of course, that goes beyond the 50,000 euros. The reason why euros, for example, the reason why I said that, it's because it is true that having followers does not equal money unless you know how to leverage it, how to maximize it. So I want to be very realistic with that. Followers doesn't mean making money. So on the quick spot, 50,000 followers or 50,000 euros, yes, but I can leverage the 50,000 followers. And of course, I'm running my businesses only thanks to LinkedIn. So, and we make more than 50,000 euros, of course, luckily per year.
All right. So for people watching, let us know. Good to see some division here already. And different approaches to it. So, all right. Next quick fire question is using AI to write your LinkedIn posts. Start with Alicia.
It is just so terrible. It is so lazy. We can all see it. We can smell it from a mile away. It diminishes your credibility instantly. I love using AI to help you brainstorm content ideas. What are my key customers' pain points, like any sort of areas that you might have like a bit of like a creative block. But when it comes to the writing, write it yourself. Yes, you can use it sometimes to say like make the sentences a bit sharper, shorter, or let me know if I might have missed something that is important to mention. But we all knew, like we can see ChatGPT language. Everyone sees it, and it's just a no-no.
Yeah.
Roger?
Yes, I use ChatGPT to, like, it's the sentence I repeat all the time on ChatGPT, correct grammar. In case I missed something, mixed a word, that's what I use it for. The rest, we have to be very careful because like you said, Alicia, we can read through it, that it's ChatGPT. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense. It's like just intelligent, smart words put together. Doesn't make any sense.
All right, very good. Let us know in the comments, do you use AI to write your posts or do you just use it for ideas and ideation? All right, the next one, comment bots. And I know, Alicia, we've talked about this in the past. What's your view?
Again, no. But even if it's like, so very quickly for the audience, if they don't know what we are referring to. So engagement pods, it's basically you're in a, let's say, WhatsApp group, Slack channel, whatever forum of community where everyone drops in their LinkedIn post and then people jump on and comment. Because the idea is that the more comments a post gets, especially in the beginning, the more the post will circulate. The issue is that LinkedIn, it's against LinkedIn terms and conditions, and they try to put in measures, we don't know exactly how it works, to identify who is engaging in a pod. So probably if you're commenting under the same person all the time straight away in the first 5 minutes, and that person also comments under your posts, LinkedIn might spot it and disable your account. But then also on the other hand, is just for the algorithmic perspective, you want to ideally only have engagement from your ideal customer persona. So what are the chances that you are in an engagement pod with just your ideal customer personas? And then also, if you are in an engagement pod with other people and other personas, and just from a human behavior, if someone lands on your post and they see comments from a range of very random people, you want to have, again, ideally your ideal customer persona commenting under your post. So I think in the long run, engagement posts just aren't worthwhile.
Okay, Raha?
I never use them. I completely, I don't recommend that. And I agree with you, Alicia. When you are also, like we mentioned, the investors, when you're building with intention to support your business, thanks to LinkedIn, to get investors thanks to LinkedIn, which was my case. I got investors from LinkedIn who have been looking at my content. If they saw fake bots or random comments from something or somewhere that doesn't make sense, that is not my ideal customer profile, they would not reach out to me. You lose credibility. So, and the purpose of LinkedIn and leveraging the platform is actually to expand in the right direction with the other ideal customers. So you don't want to stay in this echo chamber with the wrong people. You want to grow, build credibility within a specific niche audience that recognizes you, trusts you, and at some point buys from you.
I'm going to take the counterpoint on that just for fun. So if you are starting out, it's very, very difficult to build credibility. And so if you,
I stop you immediately.
if you can get some traction, and any way you can, it makes it easier to attract people. Social proof still works, and on all social media platforms, I've seen it work. So that's my counterpoint. Obviously, full disclosure, stay within the rules of LinkedIn, otherwise you'll get kicked off. But yeah, I can understand why people do it. All right.
To add on to that quickly, just because I know a lot of people are in those early stages. So yes, I agree with what you're saying. It is hard in the beginning, but the algorithm has changed recently. So that's good in your favor, because now small creators can also reach a large audience. It's no longer just relevant on your current existing network, and also just connect with so many people. Have a premium profile. You can connect with 150 people per week. That's 600 per month, if my maths are correct. So just connect with as many people in your niche as possible. And in 1, 2, 3 months time, you already see such an uplift.
So it's interesting. It's a good point. Like all the social networks are now going with this TikTok thing, which is it's less about your followers and more about whether you've got content that creates traction. So interesting. Yeah. All right. The next question is transparency / vulnerability / oversharing. What are your views on that, Raha?
Okay, so before doing what we've been doing now in a very accelerated way, the board trainings for European leaders, I used to coach on LinkedIn as well. And there is a way to write. It's not about sharing, oversharing. Connect it to something, a learning, education. Have in mind, what do I want to achieve with this? Is it just to put myself out there, or is it to educate, to build trust, to build credibility? So it is okay to talk about your be vulnerable, talk about failures, of course, but it has to have the intention to empower the others. We don't write content for ourselves, but for the others. As long as there is something to get from the others, it is good. I'm educating them. I am inspiring them. I am maybe entertaining them, and there are 3 main content pillars, which are actually educational, entertaining, inspiring, and you can play with these 3. So it's all about, yes, I can share, but what is my end goal? How am I perceived? What do I want to achieve? Is this building credibility and connection with my ideal customer or my ideal investor? Or am I just like being out there to show my weaknesses or be human?
Nice.
Yes, nice, it's okay, but teach you something.
Yeah, Alicia, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. But what I would say is like having that balance of sharing, educating, but also the storytelling and the human aspect. You need to have both. If you're just educating, you're not showing who you are. But if you're too vulnerable and too human, you lack that subject matter expertise. So I think we can now see with like Ben Francis, for example, from Gymshark, like he shared his whole journey from like starting his business out of the bedroom. And now I think he was valued as like $1 billion. So we see this is the new generation, especially with Gen Z. They grew up with social media. They expect the behind the scenes, the raw human of what it means to build a business. And this is also more entertaining. We connect with humans more than just with a brand, a logo, or just text. So yes, show up, be vulnerable, but educate at the same time, as Raya was saying, and don't overdo it, but also don't not do it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there was a phase kind of a few years ago where everybody tried to show how vulnerable they were, but it all became very self-indulgent, and yeah, it wasn't about the audience. It was much more about, hey, look at me, rather than like. And I do think people like relatable, so sharing things that have gone wrong is definitely valuable. But when it does sometimes cross over into that sort of self-pity space. That's doesn't seem to work so well. Let us know in the comments. Do you agree with that? Any feedback on that? And now, last question, and I'm sure this is you'll have some views on this. Open to work founders and others having the open to work label on LinkedIn. Alicia, what's your take?
All right, this is a very, very tricky one. I want to be open and transparent. Right now, where we are in society and human behavior, it is still a sign of desperation. It's just our bias. It's just how it looks. So if someone right now is desperate for a new role, I would actually advise them not to turn it on. You can switch on open to work and have it invisible, so recruiters can still see it, but it's not visible to the outside. It's just because of that signal. However, this is not how it should be. It should not mean open to work that they're desperate and they will not be as good of an employee. Like, I wholeheartedly understand, and we need to change the game and we need to change that bias and perception, but it will take time. And the issue is that a lot of people who are currently looking for a job, they don't have the time to make that stance and say, they need a job. So I would actually advise them not to switch it on. But I think a lot of people, just very quickly before I pass over to you, Raya, a lot of people, they can't find a job and then they moan about that they can't find a job and put themselves into kind of a victim position and they blame everything else. And when I actually speak to them, I ask them like, okay, how many applications did you send? Okay, but then how many people did you reach out to? Did you connect with all of them? What other searches have you done? Like when I actually ask like, what effort have you put in? All I hear back is like, well, I clicked on apply on LinkedIn. Yeah, it's no surprise. It's very easy these days to do it that way. So you need to understand how to actually go onto a job search, and then you don't need the open to work banner.
Yeah, very cool. And Raha, what are your thoughts?
I totally agree with you. Open to work, it's like saying I'm single and I'm really, really looking for somebody. So it's not maybe the most attractive way to approach people. And the best way to access opportunities that are beyond what you can see is actually to create content, position yourself as an expert, authority figure, show what you know, show what you do, showcase problems you have solved, and put yourself out there online, and you will get more opportunities than you can even imagine. All my advisory and board opportunities come from LinkedIn. All my clients come from LinkedIn. It's inbound a lot. There is outbound as well, but it's because I do have a solid profile and I know the value of being visible.
Yeah, so we have this with obviously the Veblen Director Program. So we have people that are going out and sitting on boards, and Daniel Priestley has a great line, which is people don't want to buy what you want to sell. They want to buy what other people want to buy. And I think, yeah, it's the same with investing. Investors are as interested in who else has already invested as they are in anything else. And so when you're looking to raise money, if you come across as desperate, nobody wants to invest in the desperate person. The same selling your time to a company. So yeah, I think we're all in agreement on that one. So let us know in the comments, and we'll come into the comments later. So be very keen to hear what you think. Has it worked for you? Like clearly it does work for some people, but interesting to hear the other opinion on that. So cool. Look, I'm interested. Alicia, you did a post about this, and you got some interesting questions from some of your audience, and a lot were sort of focused around first time entrepreneurs looking for investment and kind of some of the potential red flags. So do you want to just bounce into some of those questions, and maybe myself and Raha can answer those?
So basically I put out a post to my audience announcing that I'm going to have the privilege to be on a panel with Raya. Because when do you actually get the opportunity to ask someone who has invested in over, I think it's 150 startups, it's crazy, to Yeah, ask those questions. And I think one of the key questions that came up in the comments is all around like outside from like the visibility conversation that we already had, like what make you say yes instantly to an opportunity, and also what makes you say no instantly to an opportunity?
So I have done a lot of investments. The 100 plus, it's direct and indirect, because I have also invested in VCs, in accelerators, and so on. And I have been coaching founders on fundraising, scaling, and personal branding, and you name it. So, but I have done some investments like this, and there are some investments that I took a lot of time to evaluate, and some I took a lot of time and did well not to invest in them. So I can give a few examples. Those that I invested based on a pitch deck, never met them a year later. They are called Gleda in Norway. And I got the pitch deck through a connection. So I get a trust, okay? It's somebody who invested in them. We talked about trust, invested in them. So I was evaluating the case. And the reason why I invested on the spot based on a pitch deck that was in Norwegian, I don't even read Norwegian, right? It's because I could see the traction and the sponsors and the partners and the clients they closed at an early stage. So for me, traction is the sign that these people know how to sell and they agree with their business model, but I knew also they would shift it. So they did B2B, and I didn't need to get involved. I know these smart people will figure it out along the way. So traction, extremely, extremely, extremely important, especially nowadays. If you don't pre-sell, or if you don't have the capacity to get some money in, even at an idea stage, for me, it's a no-go, because there are so many opportunities out there. You need to be able to pre-sell even based on a PowerPoint, because I've done it myself. I got invested not even having created the company. I didn't have the company, I have got investors. I have got sponsors and clients based on a presentation. So if I did it, others need to be able to do it. That's the green flag. Other red flags, we talked about personal branding. There is a big bullet that I dodged because this founder reached out and said, Raya, you have this one, this one, this one, this one. You know them. You have invested in them. They invested in me. Okay, join. You have till the end of the week to invest. I'm like, okay, well, wow, okay, no problem. They have done their due diligence. I need to ask a few questions. I would like to have a look at your bank statement. That's it. I want to see how you've been spending money from previous investors. I've seen you raising money. I want to have access to that. And he was like, let me talk to my lawyer who's his wife, okay? I'm like, okay, I know who's your lawyer, but okay, talk to your lawyer if you want. He calls me back and he says, we have no obligation in sharing our bank statement with you. I'm like, well, I have no obligation in investing in yourself, so thank you very much. And later, and the reason why I asked for the bank statement, it's because I had been following them on Instagram. Okay, and I had been seeing the lavish lifestyle, okay, for a founder who is MVP stage, building whatever unicorn he wants to build, in getting investors and going on really fancy trips that I don't even allow myself to go on. I had some questions and I did well not to invest because they went bankrupt, and their board that I know told me this was a mess. This company was a mess. So there are some founders that you need to take. My philosophy now is that I only invest in companies I worked with. I'm an advisor, I'm a coach, I'm an investor. These are the companies I can trust because I coached them and I know they're coachable. And I do not promise to invest in them before advice. Like, I'm going to advise you, I'm going to help you fundraise and scale. We're going to make you, I'm going to help you make money. So maybe you will not even need investors or will raise less money than investors. And then I will see if I invest, if you want me as an investor, and if I invest. And I have done that. I have coached founders and I'm like, you know what? You're good. Let's do it.
So I think I'll add to that as well, because obviously we get a lot of investment cases across our desk as well. And I think Ra's first point was that first deal that she invested in came from a trusted contact. And actually that is to me, that's the number 1, 2, and 3 on, if I look at the deals that I invest in, I have an inner circle of people that I trust, and if they bring me a deal, it's almost like a no-brainer. I'll go into that deal. I don't even need to look at it because I know they're great. Then I have an outer circle of people. So for example, if one of you two sent me a deal that you had invested in, I would definitely take a look at it because I trust that you would. It doesn't mean I would invest in it, but I would definitely take a look at it. If it's a random stranger pitching me on LinkedIn or in my inbox, and it's always they send me the full 300-page business plan and say, could you just take a look at this? It's not going to work. So you've got to find those trusted partners would be my key feedback there as well.
Absolutely.
And can I jump in as a like non-investor? And basically, I'm now asking on behalf of the audience, if they are wanting to get investors on board, but they are not part of those inner circle networks, how do we then slip into their DMs? Because Callum, exactly, you just said, like, this is not the way how you should approach it, but how should they approach it? How can they make themselves known by you?
Yeah, so look, I think part of it is understanding that's the game. So unfortunately what's happened is that Silicon Valley has kind of convinced people that the way you raise capital is to create a nice deck and then pitch 1,000 people. And so it's knock on 1,000 doors, and you never actually build a relationship with any of those investors. You haven't got time. Like if you're trying to knock on 1,000 doors, you haven't got time to ask the investor what they're looking for. And so it's interesting that, like, in as entrepreneurs, we all know that we don't start a business and hope we find customers. We go and find customers, figure out what the problem is, and work out how to solve a problem for them and generate revenue. But when we go and raise money, we don't know anything about the investors. We don't know the difference between a hedge fund manager, an angel investor, a private equity. And so we're pitching everyone with investor in their title, but we don't know or really care what they consider a success. And so like anything else in business, it's about taking time and find the investors that you want to have on your cap table. Find out what they are investing in, what they're looking for, what would success mean for them, and then build to that. Now, nobody wants to hear that because that takes time and effort, but it's the game.
It's like you said, when we build a business, we go to the customers. We need to understand our audience. We need to understand the customer, the problems we're solving for them. It's the same thing for investors. We need to understand their psychology. What is this audience? What are they looking for? How are they interacting? How are they finding their deals? So for investors, it's always trust. Trust is the foundation of fundraising. Trust comes from traction. Who have you made money? Who are your clients? Who are your sponsors, your partners? Who's on your board that I can trust? And maybe I know. So hence the value, again, of building an advisory board and a board when you are fundraising, because it gives signals to investors that you're serious, committed, and accountable. And understanding how investors function. They function in networks. Like you said, Karam, it's not about like going pitching and talking to 100 investors. I raised money from 7 investors. I talked to 7, I raised money from 7. That's it, right? Because I knew them, I knew what they were looking for, they knew me, they understood me, and it's relationship building. Founders need to understand that if they invest just a few months, 6 months, in building a relationship with investors before needing money. So you always need to build a network of clients before you reach out to them. You need to have that community before reaching out. You need to have a network of investors before you reach out. And this is why also you asked, like, how do I invest also today? I coach and advise, but I only consider companies that are part of our network of board members, founders, and investors, because the companies that are pitched from board members and investors. So there is a due diligence done already. So and they need to pay their way in. If you want to access a room of investors, invest in that room of investors. That's it. Why would you expect people to, how can you expect people to invest in you if you don't invest in them and building relationships?
Absolutely.
That's the hack. That's the biggest hack.
Yeah. All right. So look, I'm conscious of time. I'm going to do one more question each. Raya, if you've got a question for Alicia, and Alicia, do you have one more question for either of us from the audience?
I actually would love to bring my LinkedIn angle to what you were just saying, because also this is exactly how you can get your foot in the door with those networks before you need them. So that means on LinkedIn, you build your own presence and everything, but also from a social selling perspective, because raising investment is like kind of selling, exactly as Callum was saying, like you need to understand the investors' needs and what they're looking for. So on LinkedIn, what you can do is just slip into the posts, the comments, not the DMs, but just like on their content. When investors are putting out content, make yourself seen. So they see your profile picture, they see your headline, they go onto your profile, do this over a period of time, then send a connection request. They are far more likely, and we see this in studies, when someone sees a familiar face, they're far more likely to engage with you. And then also, if you have a good profile, good content, maybe you've grown to a certain amount of followers. I know this is a vanity metric, but we are humans. When we see someone has 10, 20, 50,000 followers, it instantaneously means something. I know it shouldn't, but it does. So if you have a stellar presence on LinkedIn, you already slowly made yourself seen with valuable added content and comments. And then you ask them to look into your deck, or just have or asking them questions around what it is that you're looking for and whether they would be willing to look into your deck. They are far more likely to say yes, or invite you into that circle, or like an initial conversation, or whatever it might be, than if you're reaching out cold turkey.
I would even add, when you are visible and so busy building your business, thanks to LinkedIn and focusing on your clients, investors will reach out to you directly, because they are, some call them like smart animals. They're always looking for the next opportunity. And if they see a founder putting themselves out there in an intelligent, structured, engaged way, they will understand the potential and they will reach out to you.
Yeah, but I also agree that comments is such an underrated way. Like most people don't get a lot of comments, and so just putting a thoughtful comment under an investor's post is such an easy way to get yourself on their profile. Cool. Roger, have you got any questions for Alicia or myself?
I got too many, so I don't know where to start. Who to start with? I would like to get your going back to the first point we actually mentioned about because it is a challenge for employees to build their brand while they're working for a large company. And maybe it's not a question, it's like my perspective. My perspective is that we can also work hand in hand with the company. So this is like, we need to understand, we need to go with the flow. And what I do is that I go with the marketing communication department that are not really up to date with LinkedIn. Let's be honest, okay? They come from maybe PR or marketing agency. And then together we can align. It's like a step-by-step process, Let's get them first and to understand how they're not taking risks with their employees, starting to build the brand of the employees while aligned with the company. And then if there is room to push, then it can happen after that. What do you think? This is my question.
For me, absolutely. I work with a lot of companies, helping them understanding. So with the marketing team, because they build their company pages, they have content, they have ideas, they have campaigns. So then how can this content be kind of recycled and made available for the employees to make employees' life easier to put out content? But then it's onto us to advise them on how can their content be personalized, be made relevant for that specific employee with their skills. So yeah, it's all around teaching companies. And thank God, a lot of companies are now understanding the power of employee advocacy and trying to think of like processes and structures on how to put this into place. But there is still a lot of big organizations out there that very much struggle with this. And I think the reason why they struggle with it is because the employees themselves are not brought into the idea of posting content, because they haven't quite fully understood what's in it for them. Why should they put in the effort and energy and make themselves visible and seen for what? And this is where most employee advocacy programs or like marketing employee campaigns fail, is because they fail to entice the employee to put out content. They give rewards and bonuses for anyone who puts out content, but then after that challenge is over, nobody is consistent. So it's all around changing their mindset, and that's the most difficult aspect.
Yeah,
I even heard once, sorry, Callum, I even heard once somebody, I was coaching top CMOs in Norway, and somebody said, but why would I use my personal profile for the company? This is not my job description, But, like you said, Alicia, you're helping yourself progress within the company, and you are also helping yourself outside the company for maybe your next venture. So don't be so maybe protective, or there are so many opportunities.
It's an excuse.
Within and outside the company.
I think we see a lot with people that are wanting to become board members, and to become successful in a big company, you have to build your profile internally and you have to build connections internally. What happens outside isn't really nearly as relevant. When you start to get onto the board ladder, then you need to build connections outside. And for a lot of people, it's a very new thing. So it does feel slightly awkward and uncomfortable to do. And also, oftentimes they are very nervous about what HR is going to think when they're building that profile outside. But I think both of you are right. The world is changing, and I think there's much more awareness of the value to companies. Certainly, we advocate that. I think you become a much, much better employee when you sit on the board of somebody else's company, because you get to see so much more and becomes a more well-rounded employee. Look, I'm conscious of time. I know we started a little bit late, but it's been a great conversation. And look, the whole point of these inner circle conversations is to sort of have those conversations that we would normally have over a coffee on a couch somewhere. And I definitely feel like I've got a great insight into what both of you are doing, which is fantastic. And I'm sure the people watching have got great value as well. So do please leave comments on YouTube or LinkedIn, wherever you're watching, or if you're watching the recording, leave comments below. If you're not already, absolutely make sure you are following these two on LinkedIn, because their content is fantastic. And thank you both very much for your time. I hope we can do this in person, since we're talking about the value of meeting up in person. So hopefully we can do this in person before too long. And have a fantastic 2026, everyone. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank
you for having us.
you. Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.